Opening day is upon us, and I've got some season predictions for the New York Mets. Let's talk about it. Well, welcome back to New York Sports WickerMedia. I'm Wat2K99. Thank you as always for taking the time to watch these videos. If you're brand new, welcome aboard. Please like and subscribe. If you're returning, welcome back. I appreciate you. All right, let's get right to it. The Major League Baseball season kicks off on Thursday. And the New York Mets, my New York Mets, will be traveling to Miami and then to Milwaukee before they begin their home games. I love that for one very simple reason. The Mets will be playing at two closed-roof stadiums. No risk of rainouts. Fantastic. But I want to make some season predictions about how I'm feeling about this team and some predictions about a couple of particular players. I will say this. I know that the Mets have, on paper, one of their best teams that they've had in my lifetime. No doubt that there's a lot of talent there. But I've got to say, I feel personally, as excited as I'm always going to be about a new season, there's a certain, like a sizzle that is just out. Like there's a certain spark that's gone. And I think that's probably because of Edwin Diaz getting injured. I felt like one of the big differences between the Mets and most other teams was that closer, the back end of that bullpen, and now it feels like that bullpen is just like everybody else. It's just another average bullpen, and I don't think that the Mets lineup really compares to some of the other lineups in the National League. So with that in mind, I'm going to give you 10 predictions about how I'm feeling about the New York Mets, and let's get right to this. So I predict that petealonso will hit 42 home runs, driving 112 RBIs, both team highs, and I think he's going to be the starting first baseman for the National League All-Star team, plus finish in the top 3 in MVP voting. I think Alonso has a big year. Number 2, I predict Francisco Lindor will miss some time with an injury, but still score 70 runs, hit 21 home runs, knock in 80 runs, and steal 10 bases. But I don't think he gets through the whole season unscathed. I predict, now I'm thinking about the prospects here. I did a video expressing my disappointment in brettbaty being sent down. I predict brettbaty will be called up before the All-Star break. Francisco Alvarez and Mark Vientos will also be called up, but this is going to be more towards the end of the season, maybe around late August, early September. But I think Beatty is the one position player prospect who makes a relatively early appearance. I predict Timlocastro will be on the team all season and steal a team-high 25 bases. I predict Tommypham will not last the whole season with the Mets. He will be DFA'd. I think he's going to be the new punching bag because, let's be honest, especially as New York fans, we always need one player to target to be our punching bag. With Darren Ruff out of the way, I think that focus is now going to shift to Tommypham, whether fairly or unfairly. I predict that maxscherzer and Justinverlander will combine for 53 starts, but Verlander will have the better season and finish in the top 3 in Cy Young voting. I'm seeing a lot of people who are predicting Scherzer to have the better year over Verlander. I think it's actually going to be Verlander who steps his game up this year. I predict Kodaisenga, who I've been very excited about, is going to have a rough start because that first year when you're adjusting from Japan to the United States, there are changes such as having less rest. Also, you're pitching with a bigger baseball, so you have to get used to that. I think he's going to have a rough start, but settle down in the second half, have a very good second half. He'll win 11 games, and his ERA will be in the high 3s. I predict at the trade deadline, Davidbednar will be the Mets' big trade deadline acquisition. They're going to acquire him from Pittsburgh. He's their closer. Very good pitcher. The Mets were rumored to be in on him last year. It didn't work out. This year, I think they're going to need him. They're going to try Robertson. They're going to try Ottavino, but ultimately, they're going to feel the need. But keep in mind, by the way, those two guys only have one-year contracts. The Mets need to think about their bullpen beyond this year, and if they can get a player who they can have for several years of control and create a nice 1-2 punch with Diaz, I think that'd be a great way to go. Even if they have to trade one of their top 10 prospects, I think it's something worth considering. I predict that the Mets will have 3 All-Stars. Those All-Stars will be Justin Verlander, Alonso, and for the first time in his career, Brandon Nimmo. I think Nimmo is really starting to get that recognition and respect, and I think he's going to really be that table setter again and just continue his very, very good play. My only concern with Nimmo is his staying healthy, and last year he proved he could do it. I mean, all I'm really asking for Nimmo, if he was to play 140 games, 145 games, I'd sign up for that. I think Nimmo has a really, really good year. As Mets fans, we know what he brings to the table, but I think he's going to get more attention and more respect around baseball this season. All right, and finally, a season record. All right, I predict the Mets are going to take a little bit of a drop from last year. To me, the bullpen has taken a hit with the loss of Diaz. The starting rotation is still good, but I'd say it's kind of treaded water. This offseason, the Mets really treaded water. Their lineup has stayed essentially the same, but no real significant changes outside of really the catcher spot. The bench changed a little bit, but really catcher is the only position player that they changed. And the starting rotation, to me, basically treaded water. You've replaced Jacob deGrom with Justin Verlander. You've inserted Kodaisenga for Chris Bassett. David Peterson's going to take over, the fifth starter spot. I know he's pitching the second game, but he's really considered the fifth starter here. I think the Mets are really treading water from where they were, and with some of these other teams, in my mind, getting better, I don't think that's going to work out very well for them. I do think the Mets will win 90 games. I'm going to give them 90 and 72 as a final record, and they're going to get the last wild card spot and finish third in the division. I think Atlanta and Philly both finish ahead of them. I think Atlanta would win about 94 games. Philly would win 91. Philly does take a big hit with Rhys Hoskins, but being out for the season, and Bryce Harper missing probably the first half of the season. But Atlanta, we know what they've done. Like bringing in Sean Murphy as catcher was a fantastic move. I think with Philadelphia, though, bringing in Trey Turner is going to be absolutely dynamic for them. Their 1 through 5 is right up there with anybody in baseball. I'd say along with San Diego. That lineup is just ridiculous in my mind, and their bullpen is a lot deeper than it has been in prior years too. I think the Mets win 90. They get the second wild card spot. I think they're going to beat the Dodgers in the first wild card game in the one-off. But then they're going to lose to Atlanta in the National League Division Series. And as far as a World Series prediction, I think the World Series is going to be between San Diego and Houston, and San Diego wins their first World Series. I like their lineup, how deep it is, but the other thing with San Diego, they've really upgraded their bullpen. They have a very solid, steady rotation, but that bullpen is dynamic, especially with Josh Hader there for a full season, but they got some depth over there. I don't think San Diego really has a weakness on their team. So I think San Diego wins their first World Series, and back to the drawing board for the Mets. My hope is Shohei Ohtani is here this time next season. The loss of Diaz to me is just taking a lot of my optimism out. Well, those are my thoughts. I want to see your thoughts. What are your predictions for the Mets? Do you have a record in mind, how far they'll go? Or do you have any predictions for any particular players? Let's talk about it. Thanks, everybody, for watching. I'll see you right back here with more content from you know where. The Wicker Chair.